different stuff. So we are recording now. I believe it popped up for it. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So welcome everybody to Coaching to Confidence. This week is all about speaking to, and our topic is knowing your worth. And I'm sorry for the last minute change. I know I sent out last night a different change, and it's because I realized Leah and I did the why a couple weeks ago. And so it's pretty fresh in the memory. And based on the conversations I've been having with many of you on this call, but also many of your fellow brokers, the market is moving really fast right now. We're getting a lot of pushback from sellers. I'm hearing that you as agents are getting pushback on sellers to get those higher commission rates. Locking in that loyalty with buyers to make sure that they don't use a different agent, make sure that they don't go elsewhere to source properties has been tricky as well. So we really wanted to go back to visit our Knowing Your Worth presentation. Curtis, Leah, and I did this, oh gosh, I don't even know, 5 or 6 months ago. But I do think it holds really true to today. It is all about helping you guys articulate your value proposition and negotiate for yourselves. Especially in this fast moving market, it is so important to go armed with that confidence of being able to articulate your value proposition in a succinct way that ensures that you, Annette Shelton, get the business and not the 12 agents in line for the business behind you. Curtis, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I am all ears. I'm loving it.
Okay, awesome. So we're going to go ahead and jump right on in, you guys, and get started with it. So the first thing we're going to talk about is being confident in your expertise. All of you are licensed realtors. All of you took the pre-licensing class, and almost all of you sit in our Coaching to Confidences. You do your classes through Sales Pro. You're learning in the field as well. You are all experts in real estate, and it is really important to remember that. You need to position yourself as the expert, but not just in your client's eyes, in yours. If you don't believe what you're selling, so to speak, no one's going to buy it, right? So I like to root that in your why. And we did that exercise a couple weeks ago in finding your why. And if you're newer to the business, you know we talk about this in our peer group on Fridays. But rooting yourself in that why is really going to help you build that confidence in the expertise that you're looking to offer. The other big thing, and I coach each and every one of you guys about it, and I talk about this all the time, you do need to treat your business like a business. For almost all of you on the call, this is your sole livelihood. So if you don't run your real estate business like a business, you aren't going to see the success that you want to see. And a big part of that, and the reason why this is the Knowing Your Value training, and it's in this when we talk about negotiating for yourself, if you are not treating this like a business, if you don't understand what your time is worth, what your expertise is worth, then you aren't going to hit those goals. And when you're sitting across from Mr. and Mrs. Seller in a very competitive market where they could literally close their eyes and point at a realtor to list their property, you're not going to get that listing. You're not going to inspire that buyer to work with you if they don't know and don't sense from you that you treat this like a business. The other really big thing I'm on, and I know that if you guys watch any Tom or read any Tom Ferry or Brian Buffini, or frankly, any YouTube video of a 5-year-old getting ready for school, we know how important affirmations are, right? I think my favorite video is that little girl getting ready and she's just like, I am strong, I am beautiful, I'm going to have a great day. It's like my favorite YouTube video, but you do need to affirm and remind yourself daily of your skill set. So I talk with a lot of you guys on an hour of education and an hour of prospecting per day. But if we focus on that hour of education, I'm going to make sure that in my business, I spend time every single day reaffirming my expertise and growing with it. So that when I come across Curtis who wants to list with me, I feel confident and comfortable explaining to him why I am the right realtor for the job. So it's really important to have that as your mindset and be able to turn that confidence way, 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 way up. So again, and I know, I don't know if Nakia is tuning into this or not, because I know she's in transit, but keeping yourself educated on the market trends is really important too. All things MRED. You guys all got an email today from MRED on what's been happening, right? What has sold, what the average price points are. That came out today in those shareable PDFs and shareable JPEGs for your social media. You need to know your market areas. You need to be able to study the stats and be prepared to speak on it. I was coaching one of your colleagues who has a listing appointment for the Dunning area. And right now, every seller and their mother thinks my house is going to sell with multiple offers. But we all know, if you're paying attention to the market, that yes, if you put everything in a pot and blend it, it's a seller's market. But in reality, it's really only a seller's market for certain inventory and in certain areas. So you need to be able to arm yourself with that knowledge and know your market areas and be prepared to explain to a seller what to expect and set those expectations. So in this one, in the spirit of affirmations and the spirit of reminding yourself that you are confident, every other slide is a quote. And I really like this one. Your mind is a powerful thing. When you fill it with positive thoughts, your life will start to change. I'm a big believer in what you put out is what you get back. And if you're not putting out that positive thoughts, that idea that I'm an expert and I know what I'm doing, nobody is just going to come to you and ask you to do business. And let's say that that gets lucky and it happens every so often, you're not building a pipeline with that mindset. So you have to keep that negotiating for yourself going forward. I wanted to incorporate these next few slides about apologizing because when I started in the business and I was 21, I was being trained by people many, many years my senior in the business. And one thing I learned very, very quickly is when we got to negotiating our commission split, right? After going through the whole marketing, all the different things we're going to do, the above and beyond service we were going to offer, we would always only ask for 5%. And it would always be in a, I'm going to do all this for you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. I do charge 5%. But again, remember what you're getting. When you pitch something like that, you're immediately telling that seller that you're not offering them value at all. You're apologizing for what you're charging, despite the fact that you're doing all of that before you even see pay. Right? So you really need to stop apologizing and living up to your value proposition. Start with why should a seller work with you? And I'm going to pause for a second. I encourage each of you to think about this. Why should a seller work with me? Why should a buyer work with me? And if you can't think of 3 or 4 reasons and articulate that in a quick 45-second value proposition, you're losing that seller, you're losing that buyer. And if you can't think of that, I need you guys to take a few more boot camp classes with Joy and David. I need you guys to sit down with Leah Scott on how am I going to customize my website and how am I going to get my marketing better. But really, why should a seller work with me? Why should a buyer work with me? Then once you know what your value is, right? Then you go and you answer, what am I offering to a seller and buyer that sets me apart from the competition? What am I offering that's going to set me apart from the competition? And then what can I do to command a commission that equals my time, energy, and expertise? What can I do to command a commission that equals my time, energy, and expertise? And we're going to go into some of those answers for you guys, but take a screenshot of this, rewatch this video. You guys should all be able to answer all of these questions, all 4 of these questions in a 45-second to 60-second value proposition. That is how you articulate your value to someone and capture them. You can't spend 40 minutes with somebody answering all 4 of these questions, right? In great detail, maybe you go into each one, but when Curtis calls me on the phone or I call him and I'm cold calling, he's about ready to hang up on me. How am I going to convince Curtis that as a potential seller, he should work with me because what I am offering sets me apart, and I promise you, I'm worth every penny, right? All 4 of those in one succinct thing. So we're going to talk about asking for that 6 or 7% listing. And my challenge to each and every one of you is for the next month, every listing presentation you go on, go in with the mindset you're going to get 7%. Ask for 7%. Push for 7%. Doesn't mean that you can't negotiate down for yourself. And we're going to talk about how to negotiate down for yourself, but 7%. We want you guys to make the most money. And we know when you use certain things that we're going to go into, you are well worth that compared to the competition. So let's talk about that value proposition for sellers. And again, going back to that question, what am I going to offer sellers and buyers that differentiates me from my competition? The strongest agents, the most top producing agents in our marketplace, they don't have a secret sauce, right? There's not one magic pill, but there is a formula. And the formula is maximizing your value as an agent, right? Why should someone use me? And maximizing what your company has to offer said client. Those two things combined is going to help ensure that you get those 6-7% listings, but you get the business. The best agents in our industry leverage both those things together. They don't rely just on them, right? And they don't rely just on the company. Each group needs to bring something to the table in order for you to secure that business. So when we talk about the company value, right? And actually, Leah, I don't know. I know you're a little sick, so you don't have to unmute and talk about these things if you don't want to. You let me know. But just a quick nod if you want to take the company value one. Okay, perfect. So Leah's going to talk about the company value and all the different things that you have in a value proposition for sellers. And then I'll talk about the agent side. So Leah, take it away.
Thank you, Rachel. Yes, so speaking to the product offerings of Coldwell Banker. So when I speak to agents about their marketing, whether it's print or online, I always mention adding something of value. And so the great thing about the product offerings is that you don't have to reinvent the wheel or think of something new. So you have Listing Concierge for premier listing marketing plans for your listings. CBX Buyer Profile that is exclusive to Coldwell Banker agents, allowing you to target your marketing for that particular listing. Moxie presentations, digital presentations that you can embed into your website, text out, customize, etc. HomeSpotter Boost. It is the only platform right now that allows you to target your online marketing with one zip code. If you do a Facebook ad on your own, or even social ad engine, you cannot target per zip code. Real Vitalize and Burnett Title. So that is encompassing that full service brokerage that you are part of, and Real Vitalize and Real Sure are awesome product. I don't see Real Sure mentioned, but I have to plug that as well because it is a great product offering to have in your toolbox as an agent.
Thank you, Leah. And that is totally right. Like I left off Real Sure, but on accident, guys. But Leah is right. Every single thing on this list is what you should come prepared to every listing presentation with, but you should also have extensive knowledge with, so that if you're cold calling or you're calling a sphere or you're calling anybody, you know at a moment's notice what you can talk about, right? And it doesn't mean that you're giving them the exact amount or you're giving them all the nuances. It's so you can touch on the most important parts of each. Listing Concierge, for example, right? That's a huge value to the client and to you. At the end of the day, Listing Concierge is not there to help you sell the listing, right? If it's priced right, the photos are halfway decent, it's probably going to sell. It's there to get you the listing, because no one else, no other company has anything this comprehensive. No one else has their own magazine. No one else is doing TV shows, right? Hardly anyone else is doing targeted advertising. And if they are, they're charging agents extra. They're not having it part of the package. So these are really important things. And anytime we've talked about Listing Concierge, right, Leah, Curtis, and I, we've always focused on there's 12 items of collateral. Think of the 2 or 3 that you feel are the most important to you and your business, and make sure you know those inside and out and how to pitch those. I'm a huge fan of the View magazine, especially with those extra publication pushes we're doing. I think the targeted online advertising is the bee's knees, because 100% of buyers are searching online. And then the other thing that I think is super, super powerful, especially for sellers, is the fact that the TV show gets turned into a YouTube channel, right? The TV show in and of itself is great, but as someone that doesn't watch TV, like I don't really care. But the fact it's into a YouTube clip, that's powerful, because that is social media you can push everywhere, and YouTube has really great SEO, right? So do you see how in like, what was that, maybe 25 seconds, I'm articulating why Listing Concierge is so great. So Leah, as a seller, this is just 3 of the 12 things, but I happen to think and know for a fact that there are 3 things that no one else is offering, right? That CBX Buyer Profile, especially accompanied with Real Sure. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I actually have a real cash offer right now for your property. I've taken it a step further though and identified where the potential buyer for your listing is most likely to come from. And when we talk about the postcards I'm going to send out, I'm going to make sure it goes out to that area, so that this place that says it's a 95% likelihood of the buyer coming from that area, that's who I'm going to target. The other thing I recognize is that buyers want to walk into a turnkey spot. And while your home is beautiful, and it would be my honor to list it, I also know that zhuzhing up that bathroom might just be the final nail in the coffin to help make sure I sell your home in the least amount of time for the most amount of money. And I have a program you can do just that without having to spend any money down, without having any interest charged to you. And there's going to be no lien put on the property because you're going to close with Burnett Title, which, by the way, gives discounts to sellers. Didn't know if you knew that, but Burnett Title is going to make sure that we close in the right amount of time and everything is all paid off at closing. I just roped in every single one of that, and I'm using a Moxie, right? So I'm leveraging every single thing in that package, and I'm presenting it in such a way that I'm adding that value. But then you go to your value, because that's what the company has. And how you speak to it is everything. Because if you don't believe in that product, if you don't truly know and believe that that's going to get you the higher price for the listing and more commission, they're not going to see the value in it. Then you add in and marry in your value. What are the things that you are excellent at, Terry and Sue and Jerry and Annette and Gonzalo? What are things that are part of your why and who you are in business that are going to set you apart? Communication style. I really believe in setting the standard for communication at the start and hold up your end of the bargain. I would argue that 95% of sellers and buyers stop working with an agent and don't want to work with them again because of communication. Either I never heard from the agent, so I don't know what's going on, or they don't communicate the way I like to be communicated with. That's almost always top 3 reasons, if not top reason, for people to not reuse realtors. My big idea for all of you, and I encourage you to do that, is ask your sellers and buyers how they like to be communicated with. That is such a powerful, powerful thing to ask someone. Think about yourselves. When's the last time anyone asked you, how do you like to be communicated with? I can honestly say no one's ever asked me that, right? But if someone did, I would say, honestly, I really prefer text. Because it's just easier for me. I sit in a lot of Zooms every day. It's probably the fastest thing for me to go through. And if someone tells you that, Annette, honestly, like with my job and everything, it's just way easier if you text showing instruction or showing requests. And honestly, I'm not a phone person. I absolutely hate it. So even when we're negotiating, if we could text, that would be great. And then if Annette does that and honors that, all of a sudden I'm recognizing what a phenomenal agent she is, because she's hearing me, she's listening to me, and she's respecting that, right? Especially when you have 2 or more people selling one property, that's really important to get off the bat right away. How do you guys like to communicate? And then even offering, I like to have a reoccurring appointment for maybe 10 minutes every week with my sellers, just to make sure that they're up to date on everything that's happened within the last week. You'll of course be updated in real time as well, but I think that that's an important touch base that a lot of sellers don't get, and that's why I add it to my value proposition. How would you like to go about doing that? What's the best time for you? Then layer in the vendors and the services you offer. Are you an agent that is going to offer home staging? Do you have a great cleaner or handyman? And don't forget that you can get that all through Real Vitalize, by the way, okay? But are you going to be that person that goes above and beyond? When I would get 7% listings, part of that value proposition that I added in, and I didn't have Real Vitalize, I was at a different company. Part of that value proposition is I always did the cleaning right before the first open house and the move out clean. And I also had my handyman on call. That's what I would offer and add in every time that I had a 7% listing. And I know that I forged relationships with a cleaner to get a really good rate, that if my client paid for it themselves, they wouldn't get it. My client doesn't need to know that. I know that my handyman and I had a deal worked out, and this is how it is. So I know what my costs are up front, but that's an added level service that most agents aren't going to do. Think about your relationships with other realtors, right? Who do you know that could bring in the buyer? Make sure that you leverage that. So another company value that we didn't add on this, Leah, is exclusive look, right? How are you leveraging this listing and getting it sold for your clients before it even hits the market, right? And as you negotiate for yourself, and a seller says, well, then why should I pay you 7% if you're going to sell it after doing no work? You go back and you show, this is actually all the work I'm doing. This is all the work I have done to ensure that. And it's not just about getting the offer, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, because you're right. Any realtor could throw this up tomorrow and potentially get offers. It's about getting to that closing table. It's about helping you identify the strongest offer so that you are going to close and you'll be freed up to move to your next home. A lot of offers out there right now aren't strong. A lot of buyers agents are telling their clients, just go 45 over asking, the appraisal is going to protect you. Just go 45 over asking, we can get that money back in inspection. Having me as your resource there to negotiate and my relationships with realtors is going to help suss out which offer is going to be the strongest for you. And then last but not least on this, and I'm sure you guys are all thinking, well, I've got this value, and I love that because that's what I want for this. But another one to think about is your social media presence. How are you presenting their property online? And again, if you guys have sat in anything with me and Leah, you know how important we think social media is, and we are in love with it. Well, I can't speak for Leah being in love with it, but I know I am. But your social media is important. And every agent and every single agent's gonna be like, I'm gonna put it on Facebook. What are you doing that's different? Are you gonna be extending HomeSpot or Boost ads? Are you gonna be sharing it in private Facebook groups that you're a part of? How are you going to leverage your Facebook presence or Instagram presence or LinkedIn presence to get that sold? Are you part of an alumni network that you're going to post that on LinkedIn? So think about all those different ways. Again, it is not enough, ladies and gentlemen, to sit across from a seller and say, I'm going to put it on social media. Every single person is doing that. You got to think of how am I going to differentiate that? All right. When you learn how much you're worth, you'll stop giving people discounts. Please internalize this all. When you learn how much you're worth, you'll stop giving people discounts. Every single thing that we just listed on this last page is worth 7%. It is. And I understand that we're going to have sellers that push us back. And what I would do is take things off my side, right? So if I'm going in and I'm offering everything in company value, I'm offering all of that in my value. And the seller says, I appreciate 7, but like, honestly, I feel like the industry average is 5, Rachel. I've talked with a few other realtors. Interesting. Are all those other realtors doing as much as I'm putting on here? Well, no, but again, 5. Awesome. Okay. What's a number you would be more comfortable with? Don't negotiate for yourself until you know what that number is, you guys. Let them tell you, because it might not be 5. They might come back and say, well, I do recognize you're doing more. So I would feel more comfortable, Rachel, going with 6%. I like everything you're saying, but 7 is just a little steep. I completely understand and respect that. And hey, I want to work with you. That's part of my value proposition as well. I could go to 6%. But I'll be honest, my value is at 7. And so to go to 6%, I am going to have to take a few things off. I am going to have to no longer do the move out cleaning. And my handyman isn't going to be able to be on call. I'm also only going to stage these 2 rooms. And again, I understand that you want this whole package, but this whole package is at 7%. So if you feel more comfortable at the 6, I'm going to have to take these things off of this side. You guys have that power. If I were to just say, oh gosh, I know a lot of people come in with 5, but I do offer a lot. I mean, I guess for you, I could go down to 5. You're automatically telling them that every single thing on this list was worth 5 to begin with, and it was never worth 7. So you really have to be strategic. You are all experts at negotiating for your clients to get your buyers the best price on the property, to get your sellers the best offer on their listing. You have to be good at negotiating for yourself as well. And I know that this is a tough market. I know it's a tight market, but I also know that we're signing 7% listings, that we're signing 6% listings. So I do know that this is very possible. And it all goes into understanding what is your value, what is your worth, and how are you giving those discounts? If you're going to go in asking for 7%, offering a lot of things, and we all know in real estate, realtors pay for everything up front. We do not get paid until it closes. So this is all at a loss for you until it closes. So take that into consideration as well. Are you willing to front 2 cleanings and staging of multiple rooms and handyman services for only 5%? No. So be prepared and feel comfortable taking things off of your side. I don't see anything in the chat, so I'm just going to assume that you guys are all just soaking up this knowledge and are like ready to go get those 7% listings. So now we're going to talk about buyers, okay? We do not require signed exclusive buyer rep agreements at Coldwell Banker. However, major asterisks, and if Drusy or Nakia are on the phone, I know that they feel the same way. This is your security. Again, we're treating this business like a business, right? Remember that? This is a contract with a buyer. It also explains your fiduciary duty of agency to said buyer. It also can help protect your commission in procuring cause issues. 99% of the time, there's a procuring cause issue in arbitration. The first question is always, who has a signed buyer rep, if anybody? Let's start from there. And then we can talk through the process of what happened, right? Doesn't guarantee you, but it definitely strengthens your position, right? But also the other part of it is, part of license law is you have a responsibility to explain agency to each and every one of your clients, sellers and buyers and renters and investors. They need to know what as an agent you are allowed to do and what as an agent you're not allowed to do and what their responsibilities are as well. The best way to do that is to get them to sign the buyer rep agreement. So let's talk about how are we articulating our value proposition to those buyers to gain that loyalty, gain that trust, get them to sign that exclusive buyer rep. And sure, they might send you text with Redfin or Zillow listings, but you know 100% a surety that they are going to wait for you to request that showing and go with you and not go behind your back with another realtor. Leah, do you want to take us through what our company value, because again, we're going to be marrying company value and our value as agents together to secure those buyers. Leah, tell us all the wonderful things Coldwell Banker has.
So yes, exclusive look is one of my personal favorites. So you do have that network that you can build on for your wants and needs for your buyers. And you can also search what's not on the market yet with a CB exclusive. Moxie presentation is a great buyer's tool because it is digital. There is an NREX integration in there where your buyers can search that presentation and get directions from listing to listing and compare it to, you know, their home, to the work, or any particular listing. CBHomes.com is our local site. So you can set your clients up for listing alerts through InTouch. If you choose, a lot of agents like to use HomeSnap, but InTouch is also a great resource to set your agent or your clients on listing alerts. And Sales Pro, definitely the education department is huge in terms of, you know, as Rachel mentioned, understanding your value proposition and also being able to articulate it. So lots of free education there, free, and great quality education. And GRA. So again, with that full service with your buyers, you have someone right in the office that you can get that pre-approval. So you have a lot of tools at your fingertips for sellers and for buyers. So you do not, if you choose to, need to seek outside sources. Any questions about that, Rachel?
No, that was awesome. Thank you so much. And you guys, man, we are hearing the pain from all of you who are working with buyer's agents. I know some of you are writing 6 offers per week per buyer at this point and losing out. I understand how crazy that is. And so does Drusy, who I see popped on. Hi, Drusy. So when we talk about articulating what that buyer proposition is, I really want to hit home GRA, but also Burnett Title, right? Buyers are allowed to request bifurcated closings, meaning that the seller and buyer close at 2 different title companies. Talk with Brian Brown about what Burnett can do for your buyers who maybe are a little tight on cash and they need to have a slightly less expensive title option in order to get that property and to secure it up. But I cannot stress enough the guaranteed rate affinity. I just learned that Robin Barron with Guaranteed Rate actually created her own guaranteed rate affinity, created her own cover letter to send along with every pre-approval that she sends with our buyers. That's huge. The lender is putting a cover letter in. These are my credentials. This is how long I've been in the business. This is the staff I have backing me up. This is my access to underwriting. I was floored when I saw it because if I'm the listing agent, I'm like, okay, so there's not just a pre-approval, but I'm getting something from the lender saying, here's how to reach me. These are the people I've got. This is how long I've had in the business. This is going to be a smooth transaction. That is so powerful. your GRA lenders will proactively call that listing agent and say, you've got to accept Druzy. She is amazing. Not only is she amazing, but she's actually pre-underwritten. Literally all guaranteed rate needs now is a contract and an appraisal. That's all. She's given us every other piece of documentation, right? These are huge wins that right now, when you're in a competitive marketplace, will help secure that offer for your buyer. And when you're in that buyer consultation, these are the things to speak about, the things to speak to. Yes, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, or Miss and Miss Buyer, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, we have a tool called Exclusive Look. I can actually go in and see what Coldwell Banker agents are about to list before they list it. I also have a section where it says wants and needs, and I can make sure that everyone in my company knows that I have a buyer looking for exactly what you're looking for and be able to leverage it. Most other brokerages just leverage the private listing network, which is great. And I have access to that too, but I also have access to thousands of other agents, right? The Moxie presentation, instead of giving you guys a million pieces of paper with MLS sheets as you go through a listing, I'm actually going to prepare that buyer tour through a tool called Moxie presentation, which I'm using right now for you guys as well. And I'm going to send it out to you a day in advance. It's going to tour you through and give you a map of exactly where we're going, 1 through 5, and it's going to have those listings in there. So when we're at a listing, you can literally access it from your phone to be able to check out that listing and be able to look at them when you're home as well. These are all just different ways that you can set yourself apart and leverage what the company has to make sure that you secure not only that buyer, but that buyer rep agreement signed, right? And part of that negotiating is just being honest and frank and remembering this is a business and you're running it like a business. You know, Druzy, I only work with buyers that work with me exclusively because I know that the level of service I offer my clients needs to be protected. And I won't work with clients that work with other realtors because it will take time away from my clients who are dedicated and exclusively working with me. So if your decision is to not sign this and you'd rather explore other options, I completely support and respect it. But at this time, it's important to me to maintain my high level of service, and that's what I require of my clients. You have to feel confident articulating that and standing by it, because going back into license law, but also fair housing, what you do for one, you do for all, right? So if you're saying I require a buyer rep agreement and I require pre-approval to go out to Elizabeth, you got to say it to Annette. You got to say it to Helena. You got to say it to Gonzalo. You got to say it to everybody and not make any exceptions, right? So just keep that in mind, but it's very, very important. I cannot speak more highly of having that buyer rep agreement. It's personally protected me from getting a $20,000 commission, helped me make sure I got it instead of having to give it to somebody else. So I don't know about you guys, but like a $20,000 commission is worth protecting every day of the week, right? So Leah led us through the company value proposition. Now we're going to marry it with your value proposition, right? What can you bring to the table? Why should they use Elizabeth and not the other agents in line for the business behind you? Highlight your realtor relationships. Who do you know works in certain areas that is a heavy listing agent that you can proactively reach out to and see if they've got anything coming up? Articulate how important those relationships are. That's a big reason why when I was new in the business, I started getting really involved with CAR, going to every YPN event, and I realize we're virtual now, but this is important because when I'm in multiple offers, there's a good chance I'm going to know that agent on the other side of the deal. And agents like to work with agents they like. Okay, so that's a huge part of it. Communication, again, asking your buyers, how do they like to be communicated with, and honor that. Make sure that they understand how available you are, but also when you're not available, right? We want to make sure we protect our work-life balance. What's your market knowledge? Your clients need to know that they have the autonomy to go and look for properties on any website they choose. And I know some of you are like, ugh, Rachel, no, I want them to look on my website only. That ship has sailed. I hate to say it, right? But that ship has sailed. They're looking on all the different things. However, because everyone wants to look at that, right? We can like online shop from our phone, like clothes. Of course, we can do it for properties as well. And consumers today want that ability. However, they also want white glove concierge. They want instant responses. And they need to know that your value as a realtor might not be in just finding the property and touring them through it, but it's explaining and educating them on the process, right? Hey, Curtis, you sent me this listing. You're right. It is right in your price range, but I'm not sure if you noticed that the taxes actually have a senior freeze on them. And what that means, and I pulled up the tax bill, Curtis, because I agree, this is a great listing. But once that senior freeze goes away and you're the owner and you're not a senior, your taxes are actually going to triple on this property, which dramatically is going to change your monthly payment. I can run it by Robin with Guarantee Rate Affinity, your lender, just to double check and see if it's still within range. But I did want to explain that to you. Your value is to know that market knowledge, to make sure that as they're sending you things, you're explaining it in a way that keeps them loyal to you. And if you can be the person to answer those questions and be proactive, they're going to stick with you all day long. The other is, I think, be available, but set those expectations, right? Don't respond at midnight one night if you're not planning on responding at midnight every night. It's just like the biggest mistake that everyone can make, right? And we're not curing cancer. We're not like solving murder investigations here in real estate, you guys. Things can generally wait an hour or two or overnight, right? So protect your time, protect your health, protect your wellness, but also set that expectation on showing requests, right? Someone sends you something, don't forget, we have agent remarks. And I don't know if you guys have been noticing this, but agent remarks are really robust these days with, yes, I'm live. First open houses in 6 days at the open house, no exception, right? Or first showings are at the open house, no exception. So make sure you're reading through that before you tell your buyer, oh my God, Curtis, this is great. Let me see if I can get us in tomorrow. And then having to go back and be like, JK, first showings are at the open house 6 days from now. So let's plan on that. But then also, what are you going to do in advance of that? Are you going to pre-write an offer, maybe not submit it, but have that offer ready to go? So that way, as soon as your buyer walks through it, you can click send to the agent and potentially be the first offer in their hand, right? These are the things that you have to proactively think to beat out that competition. So going to yet another one of our quotes, don't ever doubt your worth. This is so important. The minute that you start doubting what you have to offer is the minute no one should really buy into that to begin with. So really, really keep that worth. And the minute that any of you guys start doubting your worth, just text me and say, Rachel, I'm doubting my worth. And I'll send you like the best, like uplifting motivational text you can imagine, and help you get back on that track. Because each of you guys is worth 7%. Each of you is worth a signed buyer agreement for at least 2.5%, and are going to be able to go through from there. Curtis, did you have something you wanted to add?
I was just seeing, Jerry had a couple questions. Leah got back to him on that. I just wanted to make sure, Jerry, did you understand Leah's response? With the InTouch listings, that is your personal website. That is an IDX search engine that is coming from you. Jerry Coxell Chicago, or whatever your InTouch website is called. I just want to make sure that you knew the difference between InTouch and the MLS. It does pull from the MLS, but it is your personalized website.
And here's the deal. That's part of asking, how do you like to be communicated with, right? So if someone's a big texter or a big app user, they might prefer you to set them up on a search on HomeSnap, because HomeSnap is a really awesome app. It is exclusive to you, right? You can have them in your profile. You can have conversations. So if someone's a big app searcher, get them registered on that. So at least that they're not searching as much on Zillow or Redfin. If someone is more, I like to be in front of my computer and open emails on it, then yeah, set them up for that InTouch CB home search, because that's going to send really nicely and beautifully. The one thing I really like about the MLS search is that if you click addition or advanced options, when you set someone up for a search, you can have it sent to them in real time rather than once or twice a day when it pulls it. I like that in real time, especially in this market, because that means the minute something goes live or has a price change or back on the market, it sends to their email immediately. So sometimes when you talk with clients, it's, hey, I'm going to set you up for this MLS. I get it. It's not that pretty. It's not that sexy. But what it can do is XYZ. And then simultaneously, I'm going to register you guys on HomeSnap, because I know how much you guys like to leverage the apps. You send me, Zillow things in my text all the time. Let me send you up for HomeSnap, because now you can just communicate with me in there. So you're going to get those two things. You're going to be covered at all bases. When your client gets all excited about a property, only discover the listing agent has a 2% commission split. You can't legally not show that. You've got to show it. Your commission is not going to hold up. However, if you have a signed buyer rep agreement at 2.5%, right? And your client goes and sees it, let them know ahead of time, hey, no problem, Leah. I'm really excited. I agree. This is an awesome property. I just want to let you know that the listing agent and seller are only co-oping 2% on this. As you may remember from that exclusive buyer rep agreement that we signed, I do expect my services to be paid at a 2.5. So if you do end up loving this property and we're moving forward, you might have to be responsible for that additional 0.5 if I can't get the seller and listing agent up. You still good to see it? Right. You can't not show something just because of the co-op, but you do want to make sure, especially if you have that signed buyer rep agreement for 2.5, that buyer understands that implication right away, because that's going to be 0.5 more. And also, just because something says 2% doesn't mean that you can't negotiate for yourself with the lister and the seller as well. What? Not the seller directly, the listing agent, obviously, and try to get that up. Okay. So let's talk about that negotiating for yourself. Anytime you go into negotiating for yourself, your mindset has to be the first thing that you set. When you guys go in with that 7% on my challenge for the next month, every listing 7%, you can't go in saying, man, Rachel is real messed up for making this a challenge because I am not going to get 7% from any of the sellers that are calling me. That's not going to happen. You're not going to get 7%. I don't know what else to tell you. What you put out into the world comes back to you, right? If you walk in there being like, I'm not going to get 7% anyway, so this is so stupid, then yeah, you're right. You've already failed. You're not going to get it. And I don't mean failed in that way, right? Every failure is an opportunity to learn from. So have that mindset. A lot of consumers today understand that you do have to pay for good service, right? I'm not going to go to the plastic surgeon on the corner doing it out of his van just because it's $3 instead of going to get $300 Botox in a salon with a doctor that actually wears gloves. Okay. So understand that if you have a positive mindset, you stand a good chance of getting what you want out of the transaction, but also is knowing what you want ahead of time and what you're willing to settle for. Okay. So if you know I want 7% because I'm going to do the gold listing package, I'm going to present everything Leah talked about on the other screen. I'm going to offer 2 cleaning sessions, handyman on call, and I'm going to stage the whole first floor because I know how important it is. However, in my mind, okay, I get it's slightly competitive. I guess I'd be okay taking 6, but I'm definitely not going to be able to pay for XYZ out of it. Then when that person pushes back, you're not unprepared. They're just following the plan that you had already laid out in your head. Okay. It's not about expecting the worst case scenario. It's about being prepared for objections. The biggest part of negotiating is understanding the objections that could come your way and having an answer for it. Otherwise, it's going to be like you got caught with your pants down in front of the sellers. And I know you guys aren't going to know every single thing, but when you're leading the listing presentation and you know what you have to offer, you know what the company has to offer, that is a state of control. There's going to be very little that they're going to throw at you in that conversation that you're not going to be able to overcome, as long as you think about what could those potential objections be? How am I going to handle that? Because that's also going to help you from hyperventilating and freaking out about what it is. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a nervous like sweater, So like, I don't want that to happen at a listing presentation. So if I know what's going to happen, it's going to be fine. And again, if you accept that lower commission split without taking anything off your side, you're devaluing everything that you just offered. Let me say that again. If you go in asking for 7%, and you get negotiated down to 5, and you do this exact same thing that you were going to do at 7%, you're telling that client that your business was never worth that to begin with. And it was only ever worth 5, and you were hoping for more. So go in and be able to offer more. A good thing is, maybe some of you are like, well, I'm not really going to offer cleaning or staging. Silver versus gold package. Floor plans or not. How many photos do you want? How long is that Home Spotter Boost ad going to be? How big is your ad going to be in the view? That's a difference of $200 that you can at least take down. Okay, Leah, I understand 6 is your comfortable number. I can go to 6, but unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do the floor plans. The ad in the view is actually going to be a little bit smaller. It's only going to be 1/12 of a page rather than 1/6 of a page. And I'm only going to be able to provide 16 photos for this listing as opposed to the 26 I was previously going to offer. If that's still okay with you, I'm happy to move forward at the 6%. It's just feeling comfortable in knowing what you have and how to go back. And if all of you are sitting here like, that's really great, Rachel, but I still don't know, please call Drucy, Curtis, myself, Nakia, and ask to negotiate against us. Ask us to be tough on you if you want, if you're prepared for that. Ask us to throw those objections at, and you can role play and script with us. If you take David or Joy's classes about negotiating, about listings, they have scripts on that. If you go into Sales Pro in the script library, there's scripts on that. And I know scripts seem silly, but I'll be honest, the reason why I can articulate everything that we just talked about is because I've had to leverage scripts. So I can tell agents like you and agents that we're looking to grow our company with all the great things that we have to offer without having to stumble through a 45-page presentation that I'm reading off the slides. So I'm just going to leave you guys with a thing from Forbes. So I pulled this out, right? So regardless of the context, many people associate negotiation with fear. Fear of rejection, fear of embarrassment, fear of appearing too needy or demanding. And they're concerned that if they speak up for what they want, they won't get it, or worse, they'll be judged for even asking. This is a Forbes study that was done about negotiating, and we're working to build a strength-based culture here in our 3 offices where this doesn't apply. Fear shouldn't be a factor on it. If you are confident in what you have to offer and what you're bringing to the table, you are running your business like a business. A coffee shop just doesn't change its inventory every single day because somebody came in and said, I don't like blueberry muffins, and never have blueberry muffins again. Well, what about the 17 other people that want blueberry muffins? You're just going to tell them you're SOL, I don't have blueberry muffins anymore, right? So just because you get one no doesn't mean you're going to get no's every single time. And you have to remember about that, right? In the 9 years I've been in the business, I can't even count how many no's I've gotten, and I'm still here. All right, so now we're going to challenge yourself. You've already got one homework assignment, which is every listing you go on, you're going to get 7% listings. I feel it. I believe it. Drucy's going to sign those and be like, you get a 7%, you get a 7%, you get a 7%. And we're just going to have a big 7% party in the parking lot. I don't know, maybe, who knows? Like, guys, come on. I want you guys all to create a custom powerful Moxie listing presentation. And if you don't already know how to do that, or you haven't already started one, reach out to Leah to set up a one-on-one with her. That's what she is here to help you guys maximize and leverage. When you build that insightful and professional Moxie presentation, schedule a time to present it to one of your colleagues in the office, to Curtis, to myself, to Drucy, to Nakia. Hey, Rachel, during one of the new to the business peer groups, can I actually present this? Heck yeah. But present it to somebody. Present it to someone who's in real estate, and present it to someone who's not in real estate, but owns property. Okay? Owns property, because they understand that value. I'm encouraging you and challenging you to make connections with 2 new vendors that you don't already know. Handyman, stager, a cleaning company, a painter. Make those connections. Let them know that you're trying to build your referral database. An inspector would also be good in this category, and see how you guys can work together. This is an old date in here. Clearly I did this training in like August. But in Sales Pro, there are a couple negotiating classes. So I really encourage you guys to take one of those. And then last but not least, meet one of your GRA reps. We have Robin Barron and Aaron Wheeler. We also just brought on another one that we are going to announce and introduce to you guys on Monday's office meeting. His name is Lars. He is amazing. So make an appointment to meet with them. Ask them to explain their value prop to you. Make them earn the business as well. That's important, because what they pitch to you is what they're pitching to your clients you send them. So make sure that you guys take that time. So this is your key takeaways. And Annette, I do see your question in the list. Do we have a vendor, or in the chat? We don't have a vendor list yet, with a nice little asterisk. This is something, a pet project of Drusy, Nakia, Curtis, and myself, because we know that it's kind of annoying when everyone mass emails the office, hey, does someone have a painter? So don't worry. This is definitely high on our list of priorities of helping to get a list together so that you guys have one-stop shop and one place to go to. But in the meantime, I actually really encourage Facebook Marketplace, or not Marketplace, Facebook groups. Like I'm in a couple, one of mine is Ravenswood because I live in Ravenswood. And a lot of times people will put something in the chat like, hey, does anyone have a great painter? And you'll get like tons of responses. As a realtor, oh my gosh, hey, I'm a local realtor and I'm looking to build my vendor list. Do any of you guys out there have a great painter you can recommend? Oh my God. All of a sudden, all these potential buyers and sellers are going to respond to stuff in your chat. And you're going to be like, oh my God, great. I just DM'd you. Could you email that person's contact to me? Here's my email. And then boom, you get their email. Look at how that magic happened, right? So keep going on that one, guys. Your only limit is you, right? We don't create a competitive atmosphere here at Coldwell Banker because we don't believe that you guys are competing against each other. You guys are here to support and collaborate with each other. You are, however, competing against yourselves. How are you going to arm yourselves with the information today to do better than you did yesterday, last week, last month, last year in your business? And for some of you with your goals, for all of you, right? You all have GCI goals. You all have take-home pay goals. Let's think about working smarter, not harder. The difference between a 5% listing and a 7% listing is 2 whole percents. 2 whole percent, which is almost what a buyer's agent makes, right? Could that help you work smarter, not harder, and make you need only less listings, but to still get the money that you want at the end of the day? And what if you had the exact same listings you had last year, but you charged 2% more? What would that be for your bottom line? And if you don't know those numbers off the top of your head, schedule a meeting with Drusy or myself, because we have a super secret fun tool that we can actually do. It's called What If. And we can help show you how working smarter, not harder is a really big part of negotiating for yourself and running your business like a business. All right. I don't see any other questions in the chat. I don't see any hands up. And oh my gosh, it's a record. We definitely ended 6 minutes sooner. Does anybody have anything, whether it's Leah, Curtis, Drusy, anybody have anything that they want to add?
You know, I love.
So I have a, oh, go ahead, sorry.
Okay, go ahead, Helena.
So I have a question for Leah, actually. I think I asked many times this, but I never heard an answer that I remember. So when you do, the package with the TV show, do you, do you have that runs, automatically until the listing is sold, or that runs on TV only once?
Yes, it only runs once, but you do get that feature to share multiple times on your own or add to your own YouTube channel.
Okay, so it only shows with all the packages, it only shows once.
Yes, on Sunday.
Because when I was wondering, because I have watched the show and sometimes I see repeated, I see the same properties come over again and again. So I didn't know if there was an extra pay for that or how it is worked out.
If you do see a repeat, I would assume there is an additional pay for that if that's possible. But I can't look into that for you. But
Okay.
per package, it is just that one episode. But I can make a note to inquire about that.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you so much.
I do have the answer to that. It's not an extra like upcharge. You have to buy a whole other package. So sometimes when you see repeated things, it's because an agent has ordered another package, because maybe they took it off the market, put it back on, but you do have to have another full package to have that ad on TV run again. But honestly, the YouTube is a better bang for your buck anyway, for as far as rerunning.
Thanks, Rachel.
You're welcome. Curtis, did you have something you wanted to add? Sorry about that.
No. I was just, I just love the theme of running a business. So much, people think, we run our businesses as sole proprietors, or as entrepreneurs, as it's a garage sale. We're negotiable on everything. It's not a garage sale. We sell garages, but we are, this is a business that we're running. And, you know, when we are, I love the idea of stop apologizing also, that, you know, when you do your listing presentation and, you know, the seller is saying that, you know, we interviewed 3 different agents and how do you differentiate yourself from everybody else? And they're saying, you know, we'd really like to work with you, but, you know, Susie Cream Cheese said that she would do it at 5%. You can just go back and say, well, there's a reason why you wanted to work with me. You know, not only did we click and, you know, and get along very, very well, but, you know, we're friendly, we're approachable to each other, and everything. And most important, I like when you were talking about affirmations. I do believe that the most important person that we talk to every day is ourselves. How we talk to ourselves and set our mindset in the morning and how we prepare to take on the day is huge. So no, I love that. That was just all great information.
Drusy, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
I really loved everything you said. Really encourage you to have the conversations. If you don't have the conversations about your value proposition, what's going to happen? You have to explain how things work. You have to explain that you are that individual who's going to be looking out for the best interest. Look at it as a partnership. I'm going to partner up with you. Either buy the property that they want to buy or sell the property they want to sell. But either way, it's a relationship. And this is what you're in a relationship business. It's founded, there's a solid foundation on relationships. And you want to do that for yourself and do that for your client. Always look out for their best interest. Don't put don't put commission dollars in front of a transaction. It doesn't lead the right way. But do
Very
go
true.
ahead and talk about those partnerships, those relationships. It's going to be a strong conversation. Thank you. Awesome job, Rachel.
Thank you so much, Drusy. You guys are catching me at funny time because the migraine and after 2 o'clock, you know me, I never know what's going to happen. I hope you appreciate all my jokes, even though no one laughed out loud. I'm pretending I had a lot of cheers in the background. All right, you guys, we're going to go ahead and end today right on time. I hope that this was helpful.